Alright, so this video I'm going to be speaking about racism. So this is a sensitive topic, so if you're scared to be offended, maybe this may not be the best video for you to watch, because I'm going to be speaking in about stereotypical ways. Somebody sent me a message and he wanted to share with me his views on what he thinks is going on with this whole racism thing. And I'm just going to provide my feedback about what he said. He said, I actually used to think that for some reason white people became more accepting of black people and just focused their hate on Asians. But then I started to think maybe they feel more threatened from Asians now, so that's why they are more racist to Asians now. But after hearing what you say, that they could not really say anything about blacks in sport because they kind of own the scene, so they attack Asians instead. I think that is true. I think that they felt threatened and were just racist in general, mainly towards the blacks once upon a time. But over time, black people have sort of overtook them in certain areas, and now maybe it's out of their hands to use racial tactics to reduce black people's status. So this led them to not wanting to be last in the line and quickly promoting themselves to be second best, leaving Asians last. Because this is human nature. When we realize we're not the best, we at least don't want to be last, which is why I think they quickly said, uh-oh, blacks are the best at blah blah blah, but we are next and Asians are last. Ask me what I think about that. I think generally speaking, what this guy is saying, it's pretty true, but I'm speaking about in stereotypical ways. So this is not how all white people think. It's not like it's like kind of like saying all black people are athletic. That's not true. Or all Asian people are smart. That's not true. But when you speak about stereotypical ways, I mean, if you look at the facts, for example, look at football and basketball, those two sports in particular, two of the most dominating or most popular sports in America. Who is it dominated by? As far as race is concerned, it is the blacks, But if you look into other types of like sports, like say soccer, it's not, as far as I know, it's not dominated by blacks. It might be dominated by Hispanics or something. You look at the sport of boxing, who's it dominated by? Mainly the blacks and the Hispanics, right? So, I think generally speaking, what this guy is saying is true as far as, the blacks have worked really hard through all these years to gain recognition and status, and basically fought their way into the entertainment industry. I was just watching a documentary on Michael Jackson, for example, and back in his time, blacks weren't allowed to be on MTV and on these special programs, but because he was so good at what he did, the singing and the dancing, everybody loved him. He just broke through all those racial barriers and provided many opportunities for blacks after him. He was the one that broke through all of it and provided opportunities for the entire black entertainment industry as we see today. So Michael Jackson did that for the blacks, but no Asian American has ever done that for the Asians as far as breaking into the entertainment industry, as far as music and dancing and singing is concerned. You look at back in Muhammad Ali's time, there was basically like barely any black boxers, and he's one of the first primary black boxers to kind of lead the way to allow blacks to have the opportunity to demonstrate their skills within that boxing ring. Alright, and you see a lot of these sports that are popular in America, they're dominated by black athletes. And I even watched a documentary about how there's so little, like the white players in the NBA are diminishing, and it's just more and more black players. And it's not even about race, it's about your talent and your performance, and it seems that the blacks, their bodies are just built to, for basketball. If you look at the marathon, Chicago Marathon winner, like every single year is pretty much somebody from Africa, a black guy from Africa. There's no white guy or Asian guy who will ever win that marathon. It's always pretty much a black guy. from Africa. So clearly, as far as race-wise is concerned, the blacks are dominating in many areas. But if you look into, you look into the Olympics, it's not segregated based on, it's not supposed to be segregated based on race. It's supposed to be segregated based on country. And if you look at who are the winners in the Olympics, from what I saw last time the Olympics was in play, I believe it was America, US was #1, and then China was #2. Right? So the America, it's supposed to be just, it doesn't matter if you're white or black or Asian or whatever race, whoever's the top athletes in America compared to the top athletes in other countries. And as far as race is concerned, the blacks have amazing genetics. Some of them have amazing genetics, and they have dominated the sporting industry, right? And like I said, I'm speaking in stereotypical forms, but it's not that all black people are amazingly athletic. But who are like the most intelligent, as far as the best in the book smarts and all that stuff. As far as what I know, it's supposed to be the Asians. They're supposed to be the best at getting the highest scores and all this other stuff as far as book smarts are concerned. But as far as what's going on and the global economy, and who are the people that are truly working hard to basically give us the luxuries that we have here in America, it's clearly the Asians out of China. I'm speaking from an outside perspective, not trying to identify with any race, but from an outside perspective, what I see is that the hard workers are the Asians that are giving us the opportunities in America to live luxuriously, while they're slaving away in China for like $1 a day or something, But you look at population-wise, there's 1.3 billion Chinese people in China. And just in America alone, the population I think is only like 300 million. So as far as from a worldwide scale, it seems that the Chinese are dominating the population. But the elite, as far as like the money and the power that controls everything, I think it's the whites. I feel that they're the ones that have the most money. So it's going to be the whites that have the most money. If you just look at this from racial stereotypes, whites have the most money, the blacks have the most athleticism, and then the Asians have like the most book smarts. And the whites came in to pretty much try to enslave the blacks, in which they did enslave the blacks to become slaves, to work for them. The blacks rebelled, refused to do that for low pay, but they're pretty much doing it for high pay now. The blacks are enslaved, but they're just paid a lot more to be slaves. So it's like, they'll pay Dave Chappelle, they'll pay all these athletes to entertain them. So it's like the white people coming in with all the money, saying, hey, we're going to pay you a bunch of money to be our slaves. But the blacks are refusing to take low pay. So then what the whites do is they go over to Asia, to China, and enslave their people for very low pay. So the Chinese people are used for very low pay, and then the blacks are used as like entertainment slaves. These are the white rich people that are on top. Not all white people, but just the white superpower people that are on top with all the money of the world, just basically calling the shots of how they want things done. and that's essentially what I see that is going on. I see that, you know, they would basically want to maintain their power, you know, as far as money is concerned, and they took it away from a racial war into just basically a war of money, you know, so it doesn't matter really, like, what race you are. If you're willing to work for really low pay, or if they're able to enslave you to work for really low pay, that's what they're gonna do. So for example, in China, you got the people that are like millionaires enslaving their own people so then they can maintain their status of millionaires. They'll enslave Chinese people in the countryside to basically work for $1 a day. They'll enslave like millions of Chinese people in the countryside to work $1 a day so then they could become millionaires themselves. So it's not even about a racial thing, really. You know, it's just a thing about power and money and control. You know, and I see that the Asians, they don't really fight back like the blacks. Like, they don't fight back physically, and they just kind of accept the way things are, and they kind of just do it. And so then they become like the working slaves for America and all the rich people in this world. The Chinese people in China, you know. And I see that America started off with basically being dominated by the whites, you know, dominating every single industry out there, you know, only white police officers, only white presidents, only white people in Hollywood, only white singers, and only white everything. And then the blacks fought really hard to become a part of that entertainment industry, to become a part of Hollywood, to become a part of like the music industry. So you got like people like Beyonce and Jay-Z and stuff like that. So, you know, they worked really hard to become a part of that. They worked very hard to become a part of politics. So you see like African Americans in politics. Even Barack Obama's black, and you got some of these other people in the government that are black. So the blacks have fought very hard to become a part of this power regime or whatever. And basically the whites that were in power basically had to share a part of the powers with the blacks. And then now they're just closing off that to anybody else. So then now it's like the Asian American can't even become a part of that, because not only are the white people in power resisting, but also the black people in power are resisting as well. They want to maintain their power and control. So basically the Asian American is basically being discriminated against by not just white people, but also black people as well. So then it's like a double discrimination that's coming at them. So it's very difficult for them to even succeed in any way in America. That's what I see that's going on. You know, if you go to China and you see that what's going on over there is just basically all Chinese people doing their thing, and then you got a few rich white people that try to go in there and try to make money off of the people in China as well. You don't really see any blacks at all over there doing it, trying to do anything. You know, so in America, that's what I see that's going on. The hatred from the whites are going towards, it goes to where the media allows them to go. So back in the day when there was the war going on between Japan and US, they would turn the white America against the Japanese. Back in the day when there was the Vietnam War, they would turn white America against the Vietnamese. Alright, now with the whole Al-Qaeda thing, the 9/11, they're turning all the whites against the Muslims. You know, right now there's really not that much, you know, as far as I see, not that much like hate towards the Chinese, but it could very well lead to that if the media wanted it to lead to that. But I don't think that they want it to, because China and America are really, you know, China's, you know, benefiting, or America's benefiting a lot from China as far as importing and exporting goods, and basically they're benefiting off of the enslaving the people of China, so it's not in their benefit to turn the Americans against China. You know, but that's what I see that's going on. Just a lot of racism and just mind control, and just like they use the media to manipulate people's minds to steer them into what they want them to believe in. You know, if the media want them to turn against the black people, that's what's gonna happen. But there's just gonna, because there's so many blacks here in America and they have a lot of power, a lot of famous people, even the president's black, and you got Will Smith and Denzel Washington and Jay-Z and all these like rich black people here in America. They can't really turn the whites against the black unless it becomes a huge racial war. It's not smart for America to do that, because they're destroying their own country by doing that. So what they do is they'll selectively choose which races on the other side to turn their hatred against, and oppress that race. They might even turn their hatred against the Hispanics, so then they could close off the borders of Mexico, so then no more Hispanics come over here to America. If there's Hispanics that create a, say Hispanics create a lot of crime in America, they can very easily use the media to turn the hatred towards Hispanics. But then at the same token, there's a lot of Hispanics here in America, and that's going to be hurting America as well. So for example, I mean, a lot of these schools, they teach Spanish, and Spanish is probably like, they're like estimating that this might be the #1 language in America in the future, because there's so many Spanish-speaking people. So if they turn against the Hispanics, it's not in their favor. They turn against the blacks, it's not in their favor. So they will pick and choose which country and which group of people that they would choose to bully in order to turn the hatred of America towards that. And I could clearly see it with the 9/11 and the Muslims and things like that, turning the hatred towards that. Like I said, it's not in their benefit to turn their hatred towards China, because they're benefiting so much from that relationship. But I see that they use the media as a way to kind of control the masses' way of thinking. But as far as like athleticism is concerned, it is clear that I mean, there's any race could be basically successful in athleticism, but you see it in the Olympics. It's just, you see talented people of different races, but it just so happens that the Chinese people are not large people, so what they're going to be good at are not going to be sports that favor like size and height, like football and basketball. But Chinese people are smaller, so things that they end up becoming good at really well are like swimming or like diving or gymnastics, things like that. Because you're just basically talking about different body types, and people that are bigger and larger, they're going to be good at certain things that smaller people are not going to be good at, and smaller people are going to be better at certain things that bigger and larger people are not going to be good at. But that's essentially what I see that's going on.